Welcome back. So while a bunch of people are excited about Thanksgiving and the good food, of course, others are also looking forward to the holiday shopping. So Black Friday, Cyber Monday, and then the rest of the season. But some things could be impacting this, such as tariffs and the supply chain. So joining me right now to talk about this is CSU Assistant Professor Zach Rogers. Thank you so much for joining us, Zach. So you are the lead author of the Monthly Logistics Managers Index. What is the state of the supply chain right now?
Thanks for having me. Yeah, so right now the supply chain is in a very interesting position. It's actually in some ways the most normal it's looked all year because we have seen a lot of goods now moving towards consumers. It's been a weird year with tariffs. If you look back at the beginning of the year, our imports were up. Basically, we did 5 months of imports in terms of volume in the first 3 months of the year because those are the 3 months ahead of tariffs. After that happened, though, after we got that, and so that's kind of what consumers have been buying. It's why costs have been lower for most of the year. After that happened, though, we saw this really interesting thing where retailers like Walmart and Amazon were keeping inventories very, very low. And basically, all the wholesalers and the people upstream were holding everything. Basically, everything that is going to be sold over the holiday season showed up by July. And it's just been sitting there waiting for consumers to buy. And finally, in the middle of October, it's really not Black Friday so much anymore as it is Black Fall. The new kickoff of the holiday shopping season really is like the second Prime Day in the middle of October. Once that happened, we really started to see not only supply chains move again, but consumers are spending and they're spending at a pace where you wouldn't really think that the tariffs had happened at all.
Yeah, I like how you mentioned that Black Fall because it's so true. And there's been a lot of back and forth when it comes to tariffs. How is that currently impacting us right here on a local level?
Right. So, I mean, the biggest part, for consumers in Colorado is that there is higher costs. If you look at the last 3 months of data that we have, which is July to September, we don't have the October numbers yet. We collected $86 billion in tariffs. If you look at that same period last year, it was $21 billion. So that's an extra $65 billion in costs that just sort of appeared this year. And that is being passed down to consumers. And really what we've seen, though, is not that it's stopping us from spending. It's just a different type of spending. If you look at places like Walmart, TJ Maxx, Ross, Nordstrom Rack, places that you would think of as more discount types, they're seeing huge sales this year. So consumers are still spending. Like it's still going to be, Christmas on December 25th. But where we're spending has shifted, and more people, including more people, middle class and upper middle class, are looking to stretch their dollar as far as they can to get around to the tariffs. And so we are seeing more shopping at discount type places.
So once people are done with their Thanksgiving dinner, I'm sure they're going to be looking at some Black Friday. Does this mean or change anything for our holiday shopping?
No, supply chains are really did an excellent job of getting things in. We learned a lot of lessons during COVID about how to sort of move inventory quickly. And all those lessons that we learned during COVID have really been applied this year. So it will not be a situation where we see a lot of empty shelves. Basically, everything is here. Again, it's going to cost a little bit more. And that 65 billion, by the way, that's not all going to be on the consumer. Basically, we've kind of spread it out like, okay, we'll put 5 billion on the manufacturer, 5 billion on the boat that came across the water, 5 billion on the wholesale. So we've spread the cost out. But for consumers, everything is here. And so you'll be able to buy whatever you want. You might just have to pay a little bit more.
Well, good to know. Question for you. Any tips that you would like our viewers to be aware of, especially as we're doing the holiday shopping, especially because you just mentioned that some supplies could be a little bit extra if you go out and shop for your loved ones?
That's right. And the things that will be a little more expensive will be the lower margin items, especially like clothing and toys and shoes. Something like an iPhone, they can absorb a little bit of cost, and it's not going to change that much. But with things that are lower margin, those will be a little more expensive. And so, taking advantage of Black Friday, Cyber Monday, and really importantly, Small Business Saturday, taking advantage of those things and trying to get deals, especially for those items that the tariffs will hit harder, which are kind of the lower margin items. That'll be really important. The higher margin things, I don't think we'll see as much growth.
Zach, thank you so much for joining us and some very good advice for holiday shopping. Thank you so much.